Good morning, Thomas. Thank you very much for joining us at Climate Week NYC. I understand actually you were very much hoping to be here with us, but circumstances had other ideas.
Absolutely, Luke. I really would like to be with you, but at the end of the day, it's still better than notice a possible engine failure while you are still on the ground than somewhere over Greenland. But very clearly, I would rather be in the room with you guys. So very good morning from Munich in any case.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for doing this so early this morning. BMW is a very significant player, obviously, in the automotive market, not just in terms of the models we sell, but also in terms of driving technology and sustainability. Where is BMW Group now in its decarbonisation journey, particularly in relation to electric vehicles?
Absolutely. I mean, we are part of the 1.5 degree ambition. We thereby said very clearly that we want to be and we need to be climate neutral at the latest by 2050. We follow the rules of the game set by the Science Based Target Initiative in that regard. And very clearly, electrification is a crucial element of that. And that means that for those targets which we have now operational, which are for a time horizon where decisions are taken today, meaning in our case for 2030, we are clear that we want to have every second BMW car sold worldwide be fully electric by that date at the latest. Our Mini and Rolls-Royce brand will be completely electric by that date anyway, so a big effort in order to ramp up electrification. But very clearly, just changing a drivetrain is by far not enough to reach your Paris Agreement goals. So if you don't do anything, you would end up with your supply chain dominating your complete corporate footprint pretty early in the transition. And that means that in order to make sure that we have the full benefit of electrification, we need to tackle supply chain emissions at the same time, which only can be done if you really integrate climate targets into very, very many decisions taken in the company. So that each purchasing manager, for example, has the responsibility for also managing the CO2 footprint of what he or she purchases, just to name that example. Not to speak about our own plants, where we want to replace natural gas as fast as possible by renewable energies.
So a huge range of actions across the business.
Absolutely.
But looking more widely at Climate Group, we push for accelerating climate action. And whilst there's great progress in transport, emissions globally on transport are still going up, plateauing in developed economies and not going and going up actually in emerging markets. What more is needed to tackle that, do you think?
Well, our contribution is the technology in our new vehicles. But this is just one piece of the equation. The other pieces are mileage, the kilometers people use their cars. It is also about the age of the fleet and the technology penetration. And very clearly, data shows that at the moment, in markets like Europe, the average age of the car that is driving around here on the road is going up and not down. So that means that policies that accelerate the migration to newer technologies are highly important, but also to think about how can we lower the CO2 footprint also of the fuels that go into combustion engine cars for still a very long time. And all of that is not an either-or question. We need all of that combined, including, for example, using the additional potential that we see in the hydrogen fuel cell technology, namely for customers where the likelihood to go for a battery electric vehicle may be highest, people who depend on large distances, drive heavier cars, who namely appreciate the much faster fueling time. So all of this tends to be discussed always as you have to do this or you have to do that. You have to do it all, and you have to work with partners. And just to name one crucial point, as everybody knows, a lot is about infrastructure. And if you look at about the pace of electrification in different markets, there is still a one-on-one correlation between the availability of public infrastructure. Here we contribute with our Ionity joint venture, together with other car makers, to take fast charging, high power charging to the main motorways. But we can't bring it to the roadside in inner cities, for example. So here we need also other players to take their responsibility fully, while we seek to also make a strong contribution, for example, to supporting the ramp up of renewable energies. We just last week announced a collaboration in the United States named Charge Space, which is all about the grid integration of electric vehicles, meaning with an electric car, you accelerate the transition to renewable energies. You may get a better deal for the customers when they support the synchronization with the electric grid, and thereby make the entire system, not just the car, but the energy system behind, more efficient.
So do you think there's still potential for business and government to work more closely together to drive that infrastructure across the world?
Absolutely, that is urgently needed. If you look at the European Union, we have a big difference in EV uptake, for example, if you compare the Netherlands to Italy. So we need a stronger collaboration, namely in those markets who today are not as fast as we think they could be, in order to make it clear for our customers that electric driving is a choice that is supported, not only in terms of financial incentives, but in terms of certainty that you can use it really on a day-to-day basis.
And I mean, EV technology has evolved a great deal over the years. What would you see as cutting edge now? How is it moving forward most recently?
So the new generation of batteries that will go online with our so-called Neue Klasse cars from 2025 onwards has, I think, addressed some crucial issues around battery technology. One is it is 20%, has 20% higher energy density, meaning you need less material, less resources, less CO2 in the making for storing a given amount of energy. And the price has also been going down significantly. So the overall proposition to the customer in terms of cost and in terms of sustainability, I think, will significantly improve with that generation of batteries. And very clearly also for these coming cars, we make sure that all the energy that goes into the making of the battery, the electric energy, is from renewable sources, that we start ramping up the use of secondary material in our batteries in order to really reduce the footprint, where the battery is the very clearly biggest piece of the equation when you look at what an electric car causes in CO2 in its making and not in its driving.
Yes. So that's great news that we're going to see that coming through in terms of reduced cost. I know that will hugely help uplift. Now, obviously, BMW has got a major footprint beyond itself in terms of its supply chain. So just quickly, Thomas, could you give us maybe an example of one or two ways in which you drive innovation through your supply chain to support responsible sourcing and support your circular economy approach?
Well, if you look at aluminum, for example, using renewable energy gives you a quick reduction of the CO2 footprint. It is a much harder task to do the same in steel, because here you are talking about different production technologies like electric arc furnaces versus blast oven furnaces. And here a very close collaboration with the different steel makers, not only to say what is it that we get from you for supply next year, but to have a mid and long-term perspective, a transition trajectory that will really deliver on more ambitious footprint targets is essential. And I must say I'm strongly encouraged by many of the hugely constructive and engaged discussions we have with our supply partners, most of which are really energy intense, about addressing climate change.
Thomas, thank you very much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
With pleasure.
And we hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. All the
Bye.
best.